Democrats, and it can. I just got my Steamship email fixed yesterday. Oh my God. From the hack thing. All right.
Now we do have Wendy joining us. I can see her name on the screen.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. Thank you. I only have 9 on my screen, so 9 boxes.
Yep, I'm here. Hi, guys.
Thank you, Wendy. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Lauren, can you hear me okay? Holly, there you are. Why does that do that? So you're over here on the right, and then boom, you're over there on the left now. Okay.
Every
Hi,
time
Holly.
somebody turns on their video, they get promoted up the list a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And if they turn it off, they might drop down.
Okay. We'll give a couple more minutes for anyone else. Is Judith coming on? Holly, I mean, Megan, how is she doing with her link stuff?
I have not spoken to her since Wednesday. So I haven't gotten confirmation whether she was attending or couldn't attend. I'm not sure. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I haven't heard from her either, so since then. Damn. Oh, God. Okay. Well, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to start, or you want to wait another few minutes for anyone else? Bert, Jack, Judith. Can you see if anyone's trying to get in, Megan? Like, you can tell when somebody's trying to get in, right?
Yeah, I can see if someone's using a different link. Hold on. And I'm not seeing, oh, let me bring Derek Schuster over. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not seeing Judith logged in as an attendee.
Okay. Is Hillary coming on? She should be coming in.
So she's on the attendee list. So if she raises her hand or you want to recognize anyone on the attendee list for public participation, just let me know and I'll press the allow talk button.
Okay, and Christy, you have to leave early, right? 5:45 or so?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, I guess we can start. Just want to welcome everyone to the Planning Commission meeting for September 20th. And pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order regarding open meeting law, we'll be participating by Zoom. And public comment will be available through Zoom webinar. You must register in advance in order to participate in the meeting, etc. And whatever that new order is that puts us back on Zoom, I don't have that one written in front of me, but I know that that's part of this. So with that said, accept a motion to approve the agenda as written. Fritz, you got it?
Right. So moved.
Second.
Second by Christie. All those in favor?
Aye.
You want to go by, we'll go by roll call? We'll go by roll call, Andrew. Mary,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you. Minutes of 6/21/21. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
This is Mary.
Omissions?
I need to abstain from that. I was not a member of the commission in June.
Right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Andrew, we don't have a quorum for that, so should we continue those until next meeting? Because, I mean, I'm counting right. Oh, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that'd be 5 of us. So should we just continue until
Yes.
next month? Okay. Haven't had that happen in a while, so I'm not sure exactly the right thing, but I know we can't vote as 5 people, so. So accept a motion to continue the 21st meetings to October.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Mary,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Next set of minutes. I'd like to just, there's been a couple of, questions about these minutes, so everyone hasn't had a chance to read Hillary's comments about some of the language in the minutes from the last month. So, Mary, if you've read them, if you have anything to say, or we can let Hillary give her, if she wants to get on and comment, but we haven't had a chance to, everyone hasn't had a chance to read her request. So my suggestion would be to continue till October, so everyone has had a chance to read her request for the minutes.
I'll make a motion to continue the minutes from July 19th to October. And if I have another point after that motion is seconded, hopefully, and approved.
Second.
You want to just second for the discussion,
Right.
Christie? Okay,
Yes.
go ahead, Mary.
Do we need to take a roll call on that, or how does?
Oh, I
Oh,
thought you
talk
were going
first.
to make
Okay,
a
no, but talk
comment.
first, got it, sorry.
Yeah,
On page 3 of the minutes in the SBA grant discussion, the minutes end mid-sentence and say, go back and listen to the tape. So if we're continuing these to the next meeting, we should also clean up that note there.
okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
Good catch.
You agree with that, Megan and
Oh,
Leslie and Andrew?
absolutely okay with that. That works for me.
Okay. All right, so Hillary has her hand up, Megan. So why don't we take a vote and then we'll have her comment. As far as, on the public comment, okay? So all those in favor, Mary,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Okay,
Excuse me,
Megan, can you, go
Bert
ahead.
Johnson has joined us, just to let you know. I don't know if you
Oh,
need
Bert.
to vote on that.
Okay, Bert, welcome, Bert. Thank you. Now we have a real quorum instead of a Bailey quorum. Megan, do you want to let Hillary on so she can just make a quick comment about her issue, and then we'll continue this in October?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, thanks so much, everyone. I just wanted to make a quick comment about the minutes and something that was recorded about my statement, which was that I asked the planning commission to consider outsourcing. And I just felt very badly about this because outsourcing to me means, like getting rid of everybody and sending the whole function to a firm. Which is not at all what I had suggested. I had suggested establishing an R&D lab that could supplement the folks on island, and that where people would also be colleagues and employed and following union rules and members of the union. So I would just humbly request that when the minutes do come back for approval, that they should say that Hillary asked the commission to consider a planning lab. Because I think outsource is a bit of a dog whistle. So thank you very much for considering that. That's the extent of my comments.
Okay, thank you, Hillary, very much.
Mary, I would support that request.
Okay, so thank you. And today's words mean lots of things nowadays. So the next item is the energy office update. Lauren, thank you for being here. We haven't seen you in a while.
Thank you.
So thank you. So do you want to go ahead and give us whatever you're going to say?
Sure, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the board. I have just a few energy-related updates and announcements to fly through, and I would be happy to come back at any point to give more of an in-depth presentation. So an update regarding our Green Communities designation, last week, a representative from the Department of Energy Resources came to Nantucket to honor us with a framed award signed by Governor Baker, as well as street signs to recognize Nantucket's designation as a Massachusetts Green Community. And again, we met this designation after many years of attempts by meeting 5 criteria, such as adopting the Energy Stretch Code, an energy reduction plan for town facilities, and a fuel efficient vehicle purchasing policy for the municipal fleet. Last year, the town received an initial $140,000 grant award, which was used to support a new high efficiency boiler at the high school, an air source heat pump at the visitor services building, and various public electric vehicle charging stations at municipal facilities. The Green Communities designation is very important because it allows us to apply for up to $200,000 every year for additional grant funding for energy saving projects. So currently right now, my office, in consultation with the DPW, we're preparing a new grant application to support additional HVAC and lighting upgrades, as well as new electric vehicles and charging stations for the town's fleet. So this is a great accomplishment. We should be very proud, and we look forward to getting more of that money from the state for some exciting projects. A quick update regarding the Wannacomet Water Solar Farm. All of the permits and studies are still progressing positively, although very, very slowly, including the National Grid Interconnection Study, the MESA Natural Heritage Endangered Species Conservation Management Plan, and engagement with the Mass DEP per their solar siting guidelines for water suppliers. One exciting development that we just received, or update we received a couple of weeks ago, was the solar modules themselves were grinded down and tested by a Mass DEP certified lab, and it confirmed the presence of no harmful PFAS or toxic components that could potentially threaten the island's water supplies or on-site soils. So we were all really waiting for those results, and we couldn't have received better results. The report is currently with the town's PFAS consultant and will be posted to the town's project webpage by hopefully the end of this week. So happy to come back when we know more about that project, but all I would say is the permits take a very long time to come to fruition.
Lauren, can I ask you a quick question about charging stations real quick, and then move on to everyone else? Are they all the same? I was over at this house this summer that had 2 of those new Jeeps, and do they all have the same kind of plug? Or it looked like they were just using an extension cord out of their house to plug it in.
Yes, there are level 1, level 2, and level 3 charging. So it depends on how long you have to charge your vehicle. You can, in theory, charge with a regular outlet, 120 volt. That would take over 12 hours plus. What the town installed are the more economical level 2 charging stations, 240 volt. You can top off, in a couple hours. That's what they're designed for. Also on the market are level 3 rapid charging stations, which we're hoping to see maybe at the Steamship Authority in the not too near distant future. So there are differences.
Yeah, we've been talking about putting them on the boats through dry docks, but problem is they're going to end up having to be at the dock at some point in time. It's going to be very tricky to figure that out. People are going to be showing up at the boat on standby, sitting in their car someday with a dead battery to go on the boat. I mean, that can't happen. It's going to be complicated. But anyway.
Well, Nat, it'll be the same as it is now. They have the booster battery. They have a cart now that's probably about 3 foot by 3 foot with 2 wheels on it that they can wheel over your car, your electric car, if the battery goes dead, and plug it in and give you enough charge to get to the next station.
You think that that's what's going to happen, Lauren? There'll be these like little booster things. Seriously, where you can't have them everywhere. You can't have them in like rows of cars, like a drive-in theater in the old days, So
the future is very exciting when it comes to battery technology. All we want to avoid is empty vehicles coming from the mainland. We're seeing more and more every summer, and the town's infrastructure is limited. We only can site 2 downtown because of the parking restraints. So we would really like to see more of the Hyannis terminal step up, as well as other local businesses on island. So we're trying to lead by example. There's great utility incentives, programs available. Happy to speak more to anybody who's interested about that. But this is the future, and we have to get prepared now. Including with our municipal fleet. So I have a brief offshore wind update in that last week, Vineyard Wind reached financial close, which means they have secured investment funds to begin construction. It's also important because it means that they now owe Nantucket contributions to the Offshore Wind Community Fund per our Good Neighbor Agreement. And it was those millions of dollars were contingent on the company reaching financial close. So it's a big, development. Cape Wind never reached financial close. So this is really an exciting update for the offshore wind industry. So tomorrow morning, the Community Foundation, as a result, will be wired the first settlement installment. And we hope to have updates very shortly about how the community can access grants that would support climate mitigation, adaptation, preservation projects from that first $4 million settlement. And in addition, the town has chosen to retain Cultural Heritage Partners, which is the legal counsel who advised us on the negotiations with Vineyard Wind, to advise us and represent Nantucket's best interest in the federal permitting process for all of the wind farm projects located in Nantucket's southern vicinity, including Mayflower Wind, Bay State Wind, Equinor, Beacon Wind, Revolution Wind, Sunrise Wind, and the list goes on. So we're grateful to extend the engagement and their representation of Nantucket.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Lauren before she continues on what she said so far? If not, have at it. Lauren.
Okay. This is another exciting announcement regarding our municipal aggregation program and electric rates going into the winter. Beginning this November, the town's electricity aggregation program, Nantucket Power Choice, will be offering new pricing. Most Nantucket Power Choice participants will see a price reduction, and all of participants will see prices lower than National Grid's proposed 6-month basic service price. So the price change is a result of a new electricity supply agreement. We're transitioning from Dynegy to a new supplier, First Point Power. And the new contract will be locked in for 3 years effective this November. So again, participants on Nantucket have 2 options through the town's plan. The default cheaper rate will be going down and lowering from 11.3 cents to 11.0 cents. So it's below market. We're seeing trends going upwards. We were actually able to lock in a price reduction, which we're very proud of. So most program participants, about 85% of residents on Nantucket are enrolled in this cheaper default price. You don't have to do anything to take advantage of the price change. There is a change in price with our green 100% renewable price. There will be an increase from 12.23 cents to 14 cents just because we are seeing a price increase in the cost of renewable electricity. And we're getting more local sources, so less Texas wind, more New England wind, for example. But again, both options through the town are cheaper than National Grid's winter rate, which will take effect from November through April, which will be 14.82 cents. So if anyone has questions, feel free to contact me. This information will be announced soon through press releases and of course on our project website, which is nantucketpower.org. Any questions about that?
Lawrence, so when you have, like my bill says Dynegy thing on the back, is this going to automatically just change by itself?
Correct. It will change
Okay.
seamlessly from Dynegy to First Point. It will always say Nantucket Power Choice, which is
Right.
the program.
Yep. Yep. Anyone have any questions for Lauren on that topic? I got
yes,
one.
if I may.
Go ahead, Mary.
Lauren, who's providing the power to First Choice or to, I'm sorry, the new supplier's name? So
It's a good question. Yep. Unlike National Grid, which has very strict supply procurement schedules and where they can source the power from, the private market has more flexibility. We will be posting where their supply comes from when we update the website in the next couple weeks. But I believe they're able to source their renewable energy nationwide, also from Class 1 RECs, they're called, their higher quality renewable energy certificates, as well as the traditional sources. So we'll have more information on that, Mary, and I'm happy to circle back once I have that in front of me.
great, thanks.
Lauren, I got a quick question for you. Just as it goes back to the first segment of your discussion. Have you, I'm on the campus committee for the school stuff. Have you talked to anyone up there? What's going on? There's going to be a lot of different things if this gets approved. I'm not saying it's an opportunity for like a whole bunch of different things, but there could be some stuff a little bit down in Bacchus Lane, maybe some stuff where they're going to be jiggling some parking around, and there's going to be work going on in different places. That's all I'm saying. It's not like that we're building a brand new gigantic school system that can have all kinds of stuff. It's just going to be in different areas. So I just was wondering if I'll be seeing them tomorrow, 6 o'clock, so I can ask if there's any room for any of this Dick Webb and that guy John, what's his name? I forgot his last name. They really know what they're doing, and I'm just curious if there's anything that can be done underground, conduit, things that can prepare for it, because this is it. What they're doing, what they're going to do, if this gets all approved, is not going to be anything. We'll all be dead by the time something else is happening. So this is going to be a pretty good project. So I'm just curious if there's some contingency that can happen for what you're doing here, as far as either grant money or preliminary stuff to where the charging stations should be in the future. Okay, that's just my thought thinking about this.
I haven't
Can't be digging stuff up and not be thinking about it,
Right. No, that's a great point to raise. EV charging stations would make sense in a new parking lot. The Commonwealth is really also pushing solar carport canopies. I know that's something, a bone to pick maybe with the HDC and see how they feel about that, but maybe it wouldn't cost much to get the conduit ready. So it could be solar ready if the time comes where there's an HDC approvable design for a solar canopy.
Yeah, anytime there's something municipal that's digging things up and grinding up asphalt, you have to be looking at these things. So thank you very much. Is there anything else, Lauren? Are we good?
Two very quick updates just to let the board know that I'm collaborating with PI this fall on a research project in collaboration with Nantucket Lights, a new nonprofit on island. We're going to be looking at socially and the social and economic feasibility of converting the island's nearly 600 overhead, high pressure sodium, inefficient, very yellow Cobra head streetlights to LED. And again, all of these streetlights are currently owned by National Grid. We pay a lot of money for them to maintain them. That would go away if we converted to LED. The maintenance, in theory, should go down to nearly nothing. So as part of their project, the students will be helping with an economic analysis. We'll be engaging key stakeholders such as the dark sky advocates, researching best practices, how other towns have done this successfully, and recommending process and policy recommendations for responsibly converting inefficient street lightings to LED, knowing there's more of a historical aesthetic preference for warmer lighting on the island. And then just very last is I am also helping to support the town with the supply chain carrying capacity study, which I know Holly Backus will be touching on later this evening.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Anyone have any questions for Lauren? You're gonna stay on with us, or are you signing off? Holly's gonna take over.
I'm going to sign off as a panelist, but I'll be listening in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for, by the way, Lauren, thank you for everything you do. You're kind of like stealth, you know, with what you do. I mean, just hearing what you did with that, I know it's only 0.3% of whatever it is, the 0.3 cents, but I'm sure that that isn't just something you make a phone call and just make a change. I can tell you that. That is complicated. I mean,
we're proud of the, thank you. Yep.
That's a big deal. So
saved
thank
about
you very much for that.
$15 million for local ratepayers over the last 4 years. So we're very proud of that. And thank you for inviting me this evening. Happy to come back.
Yep, thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Andrew, the Wisconsin area plan update.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask
Hey,
you to
John.
open,
Hey, John.
you to open the public hearing on this matter, please.
Oh, okay.
Nat,
Consider it open.
just to let you know, Jack Gardner was able to pop over as a panelist from the attendee list, so he's now with us.
And we have John, and we have Kurt already. Got him down. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. The public hearing is open, Andrew. So are there people on from Wisconsin right now?
I see Clement Dirks on.
Let me get these names so I know who I'm talking about, so I don't have my thing over.
So basically, we've had this process open for a couple months. We received one comment about, which was interesting, about looking at a possible road connection to the newly developing Cannonberry Lane subdivision, which ironically was a condition of the planning board. I mean, can you please, you're coming through here.
What would you like me to do? I just wanted to say that I also have, I have Betsy Grubbs and Lynn Filipsky here with me.
Oh, great. Okay.
Do you have multiple devices on unmute? I think that might be causing the echo.
Okay, that's good. So anyway, we've had, the process has been open for public comments. We received one which is potentially worthy of inclusion, and I would ask the commission at this point to close the public hearing and to approve the Wisconsin area plan.
Can you talk about that Canterbury thing, Andrew, real quick?
Canterbury Lane,
Jack, especially since Jack is on and he was approved that in 1973.
I bet Jack does remember that.
73, just so you know.
Original subdivision contemplated a secondary access, as you planning board members know. Subdivisions that have a lot of new lots, basically, we look for a secondary access. So you don't have a large dead end situation with a number of lots all funneling out onto one road. So in this case, a resident of Maury Lane noticed that, the traffic is gradually picking up on that road because,
Yep.
again, it's one of the only roads that services that general area of Sconset. There was controversy at the time. Of course, the person later did admit to me that he was one of the people that, was in front of the bulldozers at the time when they tried to build that secondary access. And now maybe that decision wasn't the best at the time. But it's really just to look at that, if there's any potential options, to look at it. It's not committing to anything, but it's something that we might want to consider, considering the fact that we have a lot of trucks that go to the sewer treatment plant, that we have, a number of new properties that, again, every one of them is funneled down that very limited roadway network. So
Safety issue. There's a safety issue there too, Andrew. Right across from that house with the green painted trim on the corner there, there's like sort of old guardrail that's sort of to nowhere. I mean, I'm surprised that no one's ever driven off that before in my lifetime that I can remember. It is really bad. If you ever look at that, it's like Mount Washington in that one little spot, But where would this come out, Andrew? By the old dump?
Yeah, I don't even want to speculate on that right now, and because that could end up being a discussion item for the whole rest of the night. So
that's what I
think it's-
figured. That's okay. I won't say anything else. Thank you. Sorry.
I think it's worth, again.
I just haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, I think that's the only comment I'm aware of, unless there's other comments that the Sconset group can tell us about.
Okay. We'll open it up to them then. Okay.
This is Lynn Filipsky.
I'm on mute.
So, hold on. We're gonna mute again.
New world we live in. Oh,
Can I ask a quick question about procedure, please? This is Mary.
go ahead, Mary.
I wasn't sure, and I may have misunderstood. Is the commission going to have comments at this time, or should the commissioners have submitted comments prior to the deadline?
They should either have comments ready to present now at the public hearing, or they should have been submitted.
Okay, so I do have a question if there's an opportunity.
So-
Lynn, are you all right now? Are we tuned in?
Oh, still muted.
Okay.
I know this
Mary,
is
why don't you go ahead then
frustrating.
till Lynn gets,
So
there's,
we have two devices. That's the problem.
It went off.
oh. Megan, what are they doing wrong? You're the IT person.
You just need to turn the audio off on one of the
I
devices.
guess.
All right.
Only use the audio for the one you're holding.
You should be able to hear me now.
I've got what you should.
Now are we good?
We can hear and
Figure
see
it
you.
out? I'm sorry. You should be able to hear me now. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So we listened to a lot of those comments about the traffic on Cannonberry creating a problem for Maury Lane. And I think everyone on the SAP is perfectly happy to explore a way to alleviate that safety issue as well as the traffic. So we look forward to the planning department exploring that further. Since we submitted everything as well, an issue came up with some of the traffic issues coming into town for tourism, and that this includes comments about the cliff walk being suddenly inundated with a lot of people. And we've asked the Roads and Right-of-Way Committee to create better signage about what is acceptable on that pathway, since in some cases it's 18 inches wide, not 4 feet wide, which was the original proposal in 2010. The problem is you have people coming running with strollers, and we're pounding down that level of the bluff. So we do want to make sure that some of our focus is keeping that as a historic walkway for everyone, but keeping it with safer rules. And that came about after we'd asked for commentary, because a lot of these things just come to a head during the summer where you see a lot more activity. But on the whole, we're very bullish on our area plan. We feel we've covered important areas, especially the fire station as a critical infrastructure. And we were happy to think of ways of burying some of the power lines that in a coastal resiliency plan would be identified as an issue for safety. If you have any questions for the three of us, Betsy Grubbs is with me, as well as Clement Durkees from the Sconset Trust, and we would be happy to answer anything. Thank you.
Yes, Lynn, I have a quick question. I'm on right-of-way committee since 2003. Do you still have problems with commercial use of the path, or is this a sort of a new, sort of a different issue now? Because remember that a few years ago?
There are photographers that come and use different parts of the lower part of the path, especially. I kind of feel sorry for everyone on Front Street because they're getting all the traffic that starts at the bottom, and it's a private road and they have to maintain it. There have been property owners on Baxter Road who have had professional photographers doing a shoot across the street on Baxter Road and said that's all part of the walkway. And the problem is they go in and out of various driveways without paying attention to the right of way that are established by your committee, which were so helpful.
Yeah.
You just have a lot of people treating it like you're in a zoo. I'm going to take a picture of you in your home with your dog.
And it's also the volume when the tour buses are letting people off at the bottom and say, we'll see you in 45 minutes, and you'll see 30 people come. And that's
so that was what I was, that's what I was referring to.
What you meant, yeah.
So that's still happening.
That is still happening, yes.
So where do they start? I thought they started by Wade Cottages or at Butterfly Lane.
That's officially where it starts, but people will, they'll let them off at the market and say, go up Front Street, and then you'll find it. And we usually, if you're in that vicinity, you're stopped 6 times before you get down asking where.
You won't know where you're going. Yep.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. I used to mow it when I was 15 years old.
Because they'll park at the market and then leave for an hour and a half. So parking regulations within the center of the commercial district are critical to keeping kind of traffic flow going. But the town has done such an excellent job of promoting the beauty of Sconset that we're a little bit in a danger of being overrun because there aren't enough parameters for size of people, the number of people walking as a group, people taking photographs. It's a little complicated, and every homeowner who knew that they had this as an easement would appreciate a few more directional ways to use the path so everyone can be happy, including perhaps not dawn to dusk, but maybe 8 to 6.
That's a good point. I have a meeting with right away tomorrow. I'll bring this up on the new business because I hadn't heard anything like this until just now, since the original problem was huge. I mean, I had no idea what was going on out there. And
yes,
so
I did write your chairman and vice chairman, so they should have a letter they can share with you tomorrow at the meeting at 4 o'clock.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
Lynn,
thank
for that.
you. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything for them? I love this when people are all working together.
Yes, Nat, this is Mary.
So, yes, go ahead, Mary.
So I noticed that I went and read the old plan as well as the new, and I noticed that the old plan had a point for supporting the creation of affordable year-round housing. And that point seems to have disappeared in the new plan and been replaced with supporting incentives for year-round use. I wondered if you're still open to having the support for the building new affordable housing in Sconset.
Oh, hey, Mary, it's Clement. We still have a point under housing. I think it's 3.5, where we say that we encourage tax initiatives for year-round rental properties in an effort to provide affordable workforce housing. I think maybe our wording is
Yeah,
not what you were looking
That's not
for,
the
but
same wording. I was looking at the previous plan and it says support the creation, and I take that to mean building new, as well as just incentives for existing property to be used.
In
year-
the original plan, the idea with moving the water tower was to use that land potentially as an affordable housing unit. And that did not happen. That was sold at market rate and developed as 2 private properties. So I think you will find we would be for it, but I don't know where the land for it is, because the land here has become quite expensive. So in terms of providing seasonal housing, the barracks down on the south part of the village off Low Beach Road has become something more significant than it was before. But in terms of providing housing for families at an affordable rate, we would need and would love to work with the institutions on the island whose sole purpose is to do just that.
That's why I thought you might want to include that point as you did in the previous plan, not in a site-specific way, but just in that, general support for housing that is available to year-round residents at a reasonable cost.
yeah. I would encourage changing that language just a little bit so it's not just rental only. I think that's what Mary is alluding to.
Okay.
Because it leads you to think that there's no place to build there could be a covenant. I mean, there could be, half a dozen covenant houses out there at some point that are year-round owned by, it could happen at any time. It could happen next month. Somebody could have one. So it depends. But so I think that's important to include, ownership.
We'd love to see that happen. It'd be great. So we would.
Yeah. That program is very good. It's one thing I was curious. I'm happy to see 4.3. I'm surprised, actually. I did notice, there's more, food truck, the Bartlett truck is out there. And I think the fact that you're being positive about that is really important, because this stuff is kind of migrating a little bit. These food trucks that seem to be kind of like everywhere now. And who knows how long that trend will last, because it's not free to do a food truck. I can tell you that. It's expensive to do it. I don't know how they make any money. So, I was curious that's good. I mean, if you guys are sort of, okay with that kind of thing.
We would love more. We want
very
the
regulated. It's very regulated, so it's not that easy for them to just drive out there and do it. So Amy Baxter and town have quite a rigid process, but I was just happy to see that was in there.
We are lucky that the Sconset Casino has the private parking lot where they can park. So I think that helps, because I know we can't do it at the beach for zoning rules, but we can do it in the middle up by the commercial section.
And how are things working with the little park?
Larson Park?
Codfish Park. Yeah.
Oh, Codfish Park?
No. The land bank park. Remember the controversy with all that?
Playground.
No.
Playground.
It's land bank.
Land bank. They are doing a great job, since that we work as a partnership. And I think the only issue you ever have down there is parking. And so we're very careful about creating parking and no parking sites. So there are there's a limit to how many people we can take, just like there is at other locations on the island.
But
So
it's working as far as like, somebody comes in, somebody leaves, it's sort of happening by itself. Because I haven't noticed it. I've been down there, 10 or 15 times this summer in Codfish Park, I'd say. And I haven't seen any, not that I would notice it, but it seems to be working. There are people over there and sort of parked
And
wherever.
they love the park, and a lot of residents obviously walk there, and then people will come and drive there who are further away. But I think as long as we protect what the east side of the street is, so no one parks into the dunes, that's the only issue. But there's enough parking. Most of the park is used early in the morning, and then by lunchtime, people have moved on to the beach. So it really helped when the DPW also created bathroom facilities down there. That's
Right.
only our second year having that.
Good. Excellent. Anyone else have anything for Beth, for Lynn? If not, Andrew, sorry about that long way to get to a motion, but I mean, when people come on from Scots, it's nice to have them be able to communicate with us. This is good stuff. And thank you.
I just want to say it's been a pleasure to work with this group, and look
Yep.
forward to continuing to collaborate. We have a number of active projects, so.
Well, this is
I
good.
thank them for their work.
This is unique. Sconset needs to be Sconset, and it's nice to have, this type of relationship. It's not a regular area plan situation out there. So did Mary make the motion? Who made the motion to approve?
No one yet.
No one? Oh, I thought somebody made a motion already. Okay. So does anyone else have anything to add? The language, we're okay with changing that 3-5 and whatever it was, the housing wording. Okay. So any other comments? Otherwise, I'll accept a motion to approve or endorse. What are we using, Andrew, here for a word?
Do we have to close the hearing first?
Oh, okay.
That's a good point, yep.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
there's a member of the public wanting to participate. Hillary has her hand raised.
Okay, go ahead, Hillary. Sorry. Can you hear me, Hillary? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I had my hand. I didn't intend to raise my hand. Thank you very much.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion, Chairman.
Thank you, Barrett. Is there a
Second.
second? Fritz seconded. All those in favor? Mary?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Is she still? Dave?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Bert?
Aye.
And Jack?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. I'll accept the motion to endorse or approve, accept. One of those three words.
Approve, please, Mr. Chair.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Mary?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Bert?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you for that. Andrew, and thank you for how much work you've done with them, going back quite a few years with the zoning, that little commercial node and things like that you've done out there. Okay, Next item, Andrew, the town area plan appointments.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and you have a proposed list that's been provided. To have someone that from the commission to be on the group. We had talked about an inn guest owner or an inn or guest house owner or nonprofit member, if those are specific categories you want to include or not. So this next phase, we'd like to get the committee appointed so they can begin work. And again, we've already provided the group with at least some initial thoughts by different categories. So we would ask you to move forward with at least the group here and look for volunteers from the commission.
Okay, so we have 8 members that they're recommending, right? And we have the discussion about 11, so that would be other members of the commission would make up the 11, or is there 3 more that we want eventually to be from the town association or from, you know?
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy. I'm more than happy with 9 people. I'm not, it doesn't have to be 11.
Right. 8 or whatever we have. I think it's 8. I counted 8.
There can be specific outreach to the different other categories, or, you know, the committee can.
Yeah.
can
And in the past, people that have been on these have come and gone here and there, depending upon what goes on in their own lives and things like that. So it's not like it's something that can't change and migrate as well. So that's just important to keep that in mind. This is, you know, that's happened with the other locations. Mary, you have a question?
If we were going to add a nonprofit member, I was going to suggest that the Mariah Mitchell Association appoint a representative, because their buildings and a lot of the property is in the study area. A lot of the other nonprofits have headquarters downtown or outside the study area. I thought that would be a good fit if we're selecting a nonprofit.
Actually, a good point. What do you think, Andrew, about that? So you're saying the Hinchman House is inside the area, right, Mary? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay. What do you think, Andrew? You can reach out to them, or?
Well, we have others like NHA. I don't know. I don't know that. I'm kind of not comfortable with picking something on the fly. No offense, Mary, but I do think that, I'd like this committee to get going, and I think that they should reach out to the nonprofits that are in the area. It's quite large and complex. And I don't know that we need to have a voting member from one group or the other actually on it at this point.
What about the guest house question or point? Is there somebody on here that is already that person? Because I don't know everybody personally that's on this list.
Not necessarily, but they did include, Liz Emma Dobart, stepped up as part of the advertising that was done. And, I think it could be a specific group that the committee reaches out to understand if they have issues. But I think the staff generated this as possible categories. Isn't that right, Leslie?
Yeah. No, I think that's good. Because obviously there's an awful lot of them, and there might be one person that they would recommend after some deliberation,
And I
somebody
think,
that's,
again, appointing one NP and EDC member gets us to an odd number of 9, and 9 is actually a very good number as a working group. So.
Okay. So does anyone have any other questions or comments? Who would like to be the NPDC person? I guess that's what our next question, right? Andrew?
Nominate Mary.
I'll just note that I do not live in the study area, and I think it would be best if a person who does live in the study area participated. I'll just leave it at that. And I don't know if there are any volunteers in that category.
We have somebody that lives in there on the commission. Do we?
Boy, that's back in the 1800s, the early 1900s.
Well, we have business, business people or people who own property and down there, but, a couple of us fit into that, but.
Remember, the business core district is not in the study area.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying we've got people who have businesses or own property, but not living. That's what I say.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Right,
Is it-
meaning that we're not going to find that, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I live just outside the study area, the way it's defined, and I grew up inside the study area, if that helps.
Mary, I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to.
That qualifies, big time.
Mary, it looks like you're gonna be the person.
So you're pretty knowledgeable about the core district, Mary. So if that's okay, Mary, I think a motion is in order for that, for you to be added and to approve these individuals.
I'll make a motion to nominate Mary.
Second that.
All those in favor? Mary,
Aye.
that's okay. I have it written down in order. Christie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Christie, thank you for your participation and hanging in there with us for this. She's gonna be leaving now. Thank you, Christie.
Do we need a
Um,
separate motion to appoint the committee, the 9-member committee?
Yes.
I'd make
Yes.
that the 8 members, Mary, plus the 8 members recommended by the town association.
Is that a motion, Fritz?
Yes.
yeah,
I'll second that motion.
thank you. Mary, roll call.
Aye.
Christie, excuse me, she's not here now. Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Thank you for this. Andrew, thank you for your efforts here. And again, it's all a work in progress. So, does anyone else have any questions before we move on to the next item? Any comments? Mary, thank you for stepping up. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
We've never had a town area plan, and I think that, talking to Lee, I'm glad Lee's involved. Lee's really a special person, in my opinion. He really understands this from the outset and how this all started and the lines that Andrew and him and went over. So I think they've got, he's got somebody there that really understands the process pretty well. So.
Mr. Chairman.
Anyway, yes, Andrew.
I see Henry Terry is on. I don't know if he wants to say anything, but I do see him.
Oh, okay, I didn't see him on there. I'm sorry. I'm keeping my screen over here. Henry, you there?
Yes, I am.
Are you okay?
Oh, we're doing fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Okay, Andrew, you want to move on to the next item?
Sure. So this is a discussion about a possible tip amendment. I think, as we talked about this in the past, when we set our original tip, there is always the ability to amend it if we are under our overall budget and, as potential projects might come up. So here we were approached by the Steamship Authority, and Derek is on as well. There he is.
I'm here. Hi, Andrew.
Hi. So normally, a proposal like this would be sort of in the hands of the transportation planner, and that person and Derek would have long, extensive discussions about this, and then we would, be before you. So I think this is a proposal that is somewhat similar to in the past. Is that right, Derek? To coming from the Steamship Authority to amend the tip on the Cape.
Yeah, so I need to touch base with Cape Cod Commission staff to find out what they did with the project there. But based on what they've submitted in the past, it sounds like Cape has asked Steamship Authority to submit the items they need to do the project initiation through MAPIT, the Massachusetts Project Initiation Tool, which is what your transportation planner would do. At that point, you work with someone from District 5, MassDOT District 5 on collecting what information is necessary for the project. It would have to go through project review committee. And depending on the scope of it, it may need to meet certain design thresholds and have a public participation process before the funds could just be programmed on your tip. It's a good project idea, or it sounds like a good project idea from what I've read. But the other little nuance is the ferry funding that they're talking about using. I need to know how much Steamship Authorities used of that particular funding program on Cape, because there may or may not be that same color of money available on the statewide side in order to pay for the project, or maybe there is, but not till the year 24 or 25. So I need to do a little more homework on that, but I have reached out to District 5 to find out what they know about the project, and I haven't heard anything. I imagine because nothing's been submitted via MAPIT. But it's something that, is anyone from Steamship Authority here that can comment on the project?
Okay.
Okay.
I don't see Bob Davis here. He did submit the written materials that you have. And I think we wanted to at least have an initial discussion with you all to make sure that you were in favor of this before we start moving forward. I would assume that we all do, that we are all in favor. If we can get this to work, we would work with the Steamship Authority to get this level of funding to them. So.
Yeah, my advice, since there's not a Mike Burns on the team at the moment, in terms of the order of operations, it would be premature to add something or program funds on your tip if it hasn't actually gone through MAPIT and had that conversation with the district.
Yep.
Another thing to note is you're talking about making an amendment on the new federal fiscal year 2022 to 2026 STIP. That STIP, or TIP, Transportation Improvement Program, is currently under review by Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit and all of our other federal partners. We can't do any actions this month for a new project or amending existing projects, not just in Nantucket, but anywhere in the Commonwealth. So even if, we made lightning fast progress on this over the next month, I don't think you could actually release an amendment for public comment until like November at the earliest. But realistically, this is probably going to be a much longer process in terms of project review and any other needs we need to identify for it. So my recommendation, don't do any action with your tip at this meeting, but definitely discuss it. And if it's something that NPEDC members support or not.
This was just a general discussion only.
Yeah.
And before I apply my very limited time to a new project, I want to make sure that there's no objection or no concerns about what we're doing.
Derek, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
For full disclosure, I've been on the Steamship Board Council since '04. And a few years ago, just chatting with, well, now he's the finance guy, but he was the operations manager then. He said to me, just chatting. This is when Mike was here. This is when we were before all the whatever we're in now happened. Okay. And he asked me about tip funding for the steamship on any projects that are on the Nantucket side. And I said, do they do that? And he said, yeah. I go, I've never even crossed my mind because we've always had things going on. And he said, no, the other communities do it from time to time for different things. It could be any kind of improvement to one of the ports. So when this popped up, I thought about that conversation, and with all the issues that we've had without having projects that are ready or can be plugged in, it was like sort of in my mind, I was like, wow, is this possible that we could do this? Because it's something that's on the Nantucket side of the fence. So that's how this got initiated when Bob reached out to Andrew. So.
Okay.
That was, I just wanted to say that to you just to kind of,
No, I recall from past discussion, you've been on the Steamship Authority board or whatnot. And projects like this are few and far between, so it definitely requires consultation with Federal Highway in terms of how we program these funds, whether they are in fact formula funds like it says in the letter, or if it's discretionary. And it also requires a bigger conversation with the Highway Division at HQ, whether this is something that we would want to make a statewide priority, or if we would want to leverage some of your regional target funds, like the Safe Routes to School project, for example, that's happening on Island, is a statewide priority, so that's being funded by the state. But regional target projects, as you know, you have a little over $500,000 a year of currently unprogrammed regional target funds. But if this is a project that would only take a year, maybe 2 years to build, you don't have enough money just of regional target funds to pay for the full cost of it. So it would definitely require a bigger conversation with other stakeholders before any actions could be taken as far as your tip is concerned. But I think Andrew's asking a great question.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Fritz.
I just have a question, just for clarification, as I read this sort of page and a half. Am I reading this correctly, that the estimated cost is 2 million and that they already have $1,640,000 and they're looking for the balance from us? Is that the correct interpretation? Question? Did anybody hear me?
I heard you, Fritz.
Fritz,
I
the
heard
same
you, I don't
question.
know.
I had the same question when I read it, so I wasn't sure if they were looking to swap 16 or 1.6 million from somewhere else to come from our tip, or if they were just looking for the dollar.
Sounds like nobody knows.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason I asked if Steamship Authority is present.
Wordsmithing stuff. Oh, well, obviously there's a discrepancy there just with that question that we can't answer, so we'll have to
move on,
continue and get more information. And Derek, have you been in touch with anyone from Steamship, whether it's Bob or this guy Mike Cloutier guy who's the project guy? There might be a different person that's involved in this other than him.
I have not, but if any of you want to forward me their contact info or pass along mine, I'm happy to talk to them. Maybe meet virtually with them in District 5.
Okay. Andrew, I think that's the next step because, somebody
yeah.
somebody over there knows what they're asking for. That's for sure.
So not hearing any objection to this, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to proceed ahead to talk to Derek and find all about the Map It program. Can't wait. There's so many of those I'm learning. And then we will answer the question about what the actual amount of funding is. So we'll have an update at next month's meeting.
Okay. Thank you. The next item, carrying capacity discussion. Andrew and Holly. Is this yours, Holly? And
Mr.
Lawrence,
Chairman,
a little bit.
we wanted to make everybody aware of your article that you had put in the, if anybody hadn't read it. And Holly has been communicating with the Vineyard on our particular part of this project, which is mainly looking at the supply chain, I believe, and maybe some other things, but Holly can fill us in on what she's doing.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. I can speak a little briefly on this. This is something that's still unfolding right now with town staff as well as MVP, and Martha's Vineyard Commission. I believe we may have actually one of the commission members who we've been talking to internally as one of the attendees today. But really, it's a project led by the Army Corps Engineers Research Group, and they're wanting to pretty much help the islands look at carrying capacity, supply chains. I'll tell you that Nantucket and the Vineyard, we have similar goals, but we also have some differences. For instance, Nantucket doesn't want to look at necessarily the carrying capacity aspect. We're really interested in the supply chain to and from Nantucket, getting supplies to the island, through the island, what have you. So again, we're fleshing that part out, but it would be basically a collaboration between the Martha's Vineyard Regional Planning Authority, Commission, as well as PDC and the town of Nantucket, with the Army Corps Engineers running the whole project. And this would be something that would also require state approval. So again, we're looking at fleshing out this proposal. I didn't have anything really to provide to you all to look at, but we're going to be meeting again this week, actually, via Zoom, to kind of flesh that out more. So I'll be back probably more than likely.
Holly, were you part of the group that went over there? Were you in that trip? Christy
No.
was, but she's off now. Okay.
Nope.
Well, just for a little overview, Andrew's done quite a bit of research since that trip, and spoken to the Vineyard, his counterpart over there.
Mm-hmm.
And what Holly just mentioned was part of that discussion with the Army Corps and stuff. And I didn't realize that you had put me in there that much with this packet, but other than what I saw. But anyway, no, I think the main point, Andrew, that I was trying to make just in my letter that I wrote and different points I'm making is the Vineyard, and I did a little bit of digging myself, didn't realize how many people travel back and forth to work from the Vineyard like a subway, whereas Nantucket is just, I mean, it's anything but that. Even though we're only 26 miles instead of 32 from Woods Hole in the old days, it is still very, very difficult to travel back and forth on a day-to-day basis to go to work. They do over there quite easily. And it's just a different type of living environment and work environment than we have. So before some of these notions got too speculative, I guess would be the word I'd use, is Andrew, reached out to his counterpart and found out a little bit more information and kind of calmed things down a little bit. And then we dug into the whole land use issue and open space, and privately owned unbuilt land is quite a difference. The vineyard has got a lot of private land that's taxed and unbuilt on that. Boy, I tell you, if we had that right now, we would be in trouble over here. I can tell you that. So we're lucky that we don't have all this private land that's just open to development. So we have a lot of good things to think about, and that was my whole point of writing what I wrote. So, Andrew, do you have any comments on your discussion with him? What's his name, Andrew? I don't even remember. Sorry.
Turner. Adam Turner is the director of the Vineyard Commission. And again, you know, there's significant differences in the vineyard with the separate towns, the separate commissioners, entirely separate legislation, enabling legislation that they operate under.
You're talking about the 40B, that 40B comment.
Well, the NP and EDC's legislation and their legislation is different. There's only 2 regional planning commissions in the entire state that have regulatory authority, and that's the Cape Cod Commission and the Vineyard Commission. Nantucket considered it and did not adopt it back in the 70s when, you know, we were one of the last communities to get regional planning status at that time. And it's been considered, and it really hasn't moved forward. Vineyard and the Cape have issues that, you know, require multiple towns to work together. You know, the Vineyard, again, you know, with all its different selectmen, different planning board members, completely different cast of characters. I mean, it's challenge. And you know, I do read and hear that, you know, the Vineyard is so far ahead of us, and I don't agree with that. We are much more advanced in, and part of that is because we have a little bit of a more simple system. We have, you know, one town, one county, same kind of people. I think we're way advanced with our coastal resiliency work. I think we're advanced with our master planning. Many of the towns there haven't even finished their planning. Long-term sewer planning, the list goes on and on. So in my conversations with the director too, I think that this carrying capacity idea has been completely overstated. I don't see that they are actually working to set any particular limits. From what I understand, they're looking at the standard master planning process. When I asked, you know, who was going to set the limit of what the maximum population will be, and what kind of infrastructure you're going to put in place to implement that and maintain that in the future, and the answer is they're not doing that. So again, we'll see what the final scope is. I look forward to reading that. I don't think all of those particular items are going to be able to be addressed in that plan. I see Holly shaking her head. Yes.
Yes.
I think working on the supply chain and working on sort of this basic stuff and the standard planning that we do is going to take all our time and all our resources without adding, you know, a whole debate over, you know, maximum population and, you know, and how in the world that's going to be enforced. I'd ask all of you who think that that's a good idea, and remember, you know, where this comes from. This in the 18th century and how it's been used, you know, to regulate cattle on boats and other you know, I think you ought to really think about how you're going to enforce such a system, if that's what you think is a good idea. Because I don't think it's a good idea, and I'm certainly not proposing it. Holly, do you have anything to add on that?
No, you said one thing that we've had discussed with Martha's Vineyard is that there's a lot that was proposed in this original scope that was from the Army Corps. And we have obviously those we want to look at obviously transportation, food supply, our waste management, energy management, those things that we have that mutual obviously issues on as being islands, whether we're 7 miles or 30 miles out to sea. But there was a lot, almost like everything in the kitchen sink. And as you mentioned, that we've already been obviously working on a coastal resiliency plan, and a lot of us are looking forward to that. There's mechanisms, and plans that we as Nantucket have already worked on. So again, it's very important, if this is something that's being led by the Army Corps of Engineers, looking at plans like our Nantucket's housing production plan that was just done. Those are plans that the town, the Regional Planning Authority, can provide as part of what Nantucket has already done or working on. But there's the aspect of really looking at the supply, not necessarily the carrying capacity, whereas the vineyard wants to look at that more. So obviously we have similarities and we have differences. And so how can we work this scope out so that it meets both islands' objectives moving forward? So.
Yeah, Holly, all good information. Just real quick, and I don't mean to circle back to this again, but when this all came out, I found out a few things that I didn't almost don't even want to share, but I'm going to have to share. One of them is Bob and I were talking about the commuter books, and you got to remember that's 7 miles. The boats don't cancel. They have 29 trips a day. And if you miss a boat, you just stand there and wait for the next one. Like, you don't have to move. Just, you can't even finish your coffee and there's another boat coming in. It's like, the Green Line going to Fenway. It's just like, look to your left and the light's coming under the tunnel eventually. The commuter books for traveling back and forth for residents, the 46 ride book is, let's just say, a lot less than a sandwich on Nantucket. Okay. It's scary, and it's so easy to get back and forth, and their system is so much different. But on the other side of the coin, where I don't even think it's fair to compare the two islands, because they're not, nothing is alike at all. Like, as far as the distance, their issues aren't like ours. If they were the same distance as us and they were like next to us, like St. John's and St. Thomas, I guess we could really have a race to see who's doing what better than the other, or what worse, or something like that. But there isn't really a comparison other than football. The boats interchange except for 2, and the inter-island service works pretty good now. You can go over there for dinner at Nancy's. It's a really good restaurant, this Nancy's place. I tried it this year. It's really good. I don't know what to say. I think these things get overblown, and unfortunately causes a lot of fodder unnecessarily. So that would be my only comment after this. So too bad Christy's not on. She was over there talking to them. But Bert, your hand is up.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm up at Logan Airport. I've got to cash out here and get going.
Well, thank you for your efforts to be on.
I'm headed down to Texas, not all the way to Houston, but if I was going to Houston, I'd try to bring Mike Burns back with me. But
well, same page there.
That would be all right. You can do that. Use your miles and get it back here.
Okay,
Mary, go ahead. I see you there.
Since we might be moving on to the census, one of the things that I noticed in that report is that Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket have almost equal population, which I found astounding. And but I also think it goes to the point that you can't compare the islands, because the difference in space and the difference in distance to the mainland and the difference in the way that they live on their island and we live on our island, they're just huge. But that's why I was really surprised that their population is not really much bigger than Nantucket's. And so I think that they have just a completely different set of issues because their environment is so different for the same.
But what's their summer population though?
No,
gotta be more
not in the census.
They 29 boats a day. They are full. I mean, it's crazy. So
But you
There's
might
gotta
take
be
that back-
something else.
You might take that back to the steamship and say, well, if we have the same population, why don't we have as many trips as they do?
That, I can tell you what the answer is to that. That's another conversation. I'm not even sure. Oh, boy, I don't really want to tell you that story in Hyannis. But anyway, so Mary, that's important though, Andrew. I didn't even know that. So their winter population, well, I know, according to the census, is similar to ours.
I think they come out around 20,000 for their island in the census, which I'm sure they think is a bit of an undercount as we do our 14.
So they're probably 23 or something, or 24, and where we know what we are in the winter, we're 18.
Yeah, so it's not that
roughly,
great a
so.
difference, 10 to 20% difference compared to
It's
the
not the size.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in their zoning, Andrew, if you want to throw that in, they haven't really tackled some of their zoning issues like we have, so.
For each town
That's
has
another
its own
issue.
zoning district, so add that to the mix that, there are
I can't believe it. They
six
must have
different
a lot of
towns,
arguments.
6 different zoning districts. They're all different, are dry and don't serve alcohol, some do, so there's quite a big difference, across even the small sub areas of the island. And, I'm not criticized, I don't offer any criticism or like we're better than them or not, but,
Right.
in response to people saying that they're so far ahead, I don't think that's true. They may be in some areas, and I think, we like to borrow ideas from both islands. I mean, they have some things that I think are working well there. One thing that's been very successful there is more collaboration between their land bank and their housing office, which I think the group did find out. There may not be the same opportunities here though as there because of the level of, where they are. I mean, the last time we were at 30% of our land available for development was in the 90s. So, and early 90s. So, we have, as part of our current master planning that we're doing, and the build out analysis is going on. Of course, it's a very takes a lot of time with the consultants. Leslie and I have looked at the vacant lots in a very detailed manner. We're at, I think it's 4% vacant according to the assessor records, which is even proving it's going to be much less than that when you actually factor out that much of at least the commercial land is in it's classified as vacant for assessing purposes, but it's actually in use for, parking lots and storage and other things. We're finding there's a huge percentage which is already tied up by abutters. So they might, have a house and have a lot next door, which is either in active use, providing parking and lawns and things like that, or in passive use that it's actually, held as a vacant lot, sort of as an investment. So anyway, there's some significant differences in where we are development wise too. So.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ben Robinson, who is actually one of the members from the Martha's Vineyard, has his hand up.
Oh, good. Welcome, Ben. Where is he?
Hi, I think I'm just unmuted. Fascinating to hear Nantucket talk about the vineyard. That outside perspective is really just that one question you had. We top 100,000 people in the summer at times.
Yeah.
So we.
So do we, according to.
Yeah. So
this year.
Yeah. So I mean,
same number of Stop and Shop trailers though.
Yeah, exactly. Twice a day delivery in the summer. Yeah, I mean, there's no surprise that there are vast differences between the two islands in governance and geography and distance from the mainland, et cetera. But I think there's enough similarities that, better collaboration between the islands can strengthen our planning initiatives. Just the fact that we can learn from each other, see what works, see what's not working. carrying capacity is a slippery definition, and I think people like to write into it what they think. I think part of this study is going to have to get at a definition. We think about it in terms of the character of the island and then targeting the infrastructure that can support that going forward. And we're also looking at it in relation to climate change and issues around that as well. And so the other thing I wanted to bring up, though, is that, you know, getting the federal government through the Army Corps to do a study is going to probably be an asset in searching out federal funds for some of our larger infrastructure issues, whether it's wastewater, stormwater, coastal roads, our harbors, et cetera, those things that we're going to have to deal with over the next decade or so to improve, to build stronger, to build more resilient. So I think, you know, we can get caught up on carrying capacity means somehow we're going to have a limit. The limit, you know, is somewhat placed on us by our geographies already. You've talked about that a little bit, about the difference in the stewardship authority route. You guys have a much different route than we do, and there's a natural limit there. There are other natural limits that are placed upon us. Zoning itself is a type of limit. So I don't think we're talking about setting quotas or saying, you know, you're the 100th car on the boat and you make it, and the 101st car, you know, sorry, you missed out. I think it's more about understanding. I think it's more about understanding what are those big infrastructure projects that we're going to have to tackle to meet certain carrying capacity, you know, senses of what our future looks like. So, you know, that modeling and that research coming out of the Army Corps, it feels invaluable, and it also feels like having a federal study is going to unlock the potential for federal dollars as well. And so I wouldn't want to miss that opportunity as well. So we're happy to be collaborating with Nantucket. We're working on the work plan so that what we are doing similarly, we're doing similarly, and what we're doing, you know, slightly differently, we can diverge on. One other piece of this whole project that is a requirement from the Army Corps is that a state agency signs off on it. And so we were going to talk to the EEA office and Kathleen Theories about not just signing off on it, but participating on it, because when we talk a little bit more about supply chain issues, that reaches into the Southeast New England area in ways. And, you know, there's topics about where does freight come from? Is it out of New Bedford? May not be as big an issue because you guys don't have the Woods Hole issues that we do. And Hyannis seems a little more comfortable with the relationship with the island, but though, you know, how people get to Hyannis or Woods Hole to get on the boats, you know, there's a lot of issues that can be explored.
I need your email address immediately after this meeting.
Yeah. Holly has my email. Holly has my email, and I'm always happy to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. You've hit on so many things. This is like my life. Oh my God. So let me ask you something. You're the representatives from the vineyard, the three new guys. I mean, I call them the three new guys because they're new to me. And there's a lot of things that they've figured out in the last 6 or 8 months. And one of them is something that's we've had going on here for years, is cars that are left here. They don't leave. So people fly in now. Okay, our numbers are down at steamship in Nantucket this summer. I'm talking about passengers right now. Highline's a little bit down. We're down a bit more. And JetBlue, American Airlines, people are flying here to their summer homes. They got 2 or 3 cars here. Paying excise taxes, but that's another conversation. So how do you control that? The numbers are already on the island. They just fly in and open the garage door and drive the car. It's that simple. So you have that trend starting now. It's not anywhere near our level, but because of the simplicity of getting there, and it's a lot cheaper, but it's becoming more of a trend now. There's more vehicles registered. They're taking advantage of the cheaper insurance and putting the fluffy license plates on like they do over here. So everybody's out competing each other to get their Nantucket license plate. So, you know, that's the one thing that those new, you know, that John Cahill and Jim Malkin and Joe Solito have learned recently that that issue is something that is a big deal to know. When people say there's too many cars, there's too many this, but a lot of them are not, they're already here. And now they rent them, or whatever that program is, where you can actually rent your own car to somebody else. So it's like, it just never ends. You can never catch up to this stuff. So it's not worth trying sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen a huge increase in passengers coming off of airplanes. 3 major airplanes or airlines are flying to the Vineyard. It's caused bottlenecks at the airport for traffic. Traffic, I'm sure it's similar to Nantucket as well. Maybe you sit in traffic for 10 minutes and that's a really bad traffic area. And you learn to avoid it. And so there is sort of practice that people find that they can get around it. But yeah, the number of cars, hope that cars get smaller, maybe that'll help. But some of these things are market driven, and there's only so much you can do within the market before you make a mess of it. So you have to be cautious with how you control that. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the concept here is let's explore some of these and see if there are ways in which we can manage quality of life, continue to have active economies and confront the challenges of climate change. And these are tall orders, I suppose, but they're in front of us, so we got to deal with them.
Well, you got a lot of rocks and concrete over there. So over here, we don't have that. You got a lot of it. So you're ahead of us in that regard. So does anyone else have anything? I mean, I love listening to somebody from the Vineyard talking. This is the first time that's ever happened, Andrew, I think.
Mr. Chairman, I see some hands raised, Derek and Wendy.
So go ahead.
Hi. Go ahead, Wendy.
Wendy, go ahead.
All right, I'll just second kind of a little bit of what Ben said real quick with the benefit of the studies for the federal level. I thought for the state too, Bill Vino from the Martha's Vineyard Commission and I are on the Rural Policy Advisory Commission. And over the years, it's just been more and more evident that the rural policy issues that group focuses on really more Western Mass and sort of lower population density things, very different from what we're dealing with. So, anything we can do to sort of, focus on our own issues, I think is a huge positive. So just want to point that out. It's great working with Bill, and the more the better.
Oh, I agree. So, I mean, back to that before I get to you, Derek, where he was saying earlier about collaborating with the analysts. I mean, there's so many things that we can work together on. Like, for example, the covenant program, Andrew, that always comes to my mind because I'm so proud of it. And I wish, we had more of them. I don't know what their housing issues are compared to us as far as home ownership versus, year-round people leaving, et cetera, et cetera. We have such a complicated housing issue. Second dwellings, the tertiaries, the basement apartments, the legal basement apartments, those kind of things. I don't know what they're, is that something that happens over there a lot? Is it like us, that kind of stuff? Those are the things that we should be talking about. And, the zoning and the mixed use zoning and Andrew's horror stories of the RC and how we fixed all this stuff and whole developments left wide open for subdivision. It's crazy. So I don't know what their issues are like ours, but there's certainly a lot of back and forth that could be helpful.
Yeah, I would say our housing issues are the same. If you're a regular islander and you have a regular job, you can't afford to buy into the market. That's a real problem for our community base. And people are piling into one house, and it's all the same issues. And it's a really tricky issue. It gets into all sorts of different subjects when you start unpacking it. But it's certainly something we should work on together, because there are things that I've seen Nantucket do that I think we should be doing. And and there are probably things that we've tried to explore that Nantucket would be interested in looking at as well.
Sounds like you need the covenant program.
Yeah.
second dwellings. Derek, what was your question or comment?
I just wanted to add that the UMass Donahue Institute on Economic and Public Policy Research a couple weeks ago made a presentation to MassDOT and several MPO staff members about an overview of the 2020 census and the total population changes, including a subset of discussion on the rebound, so to speak, for Cape Cod, Dukes County, and Nantucket, so the Vineyard and Nantucket. And among the trends we looked at and discussed were not only the increase in total population, but also what share of occupied housing versus vacant housing rates we're seeing on the islands and on the Cape. And a question that we discussed further, or that I brought up and that we're going to discuss further, they're going to look into further as they clean the data, because the Census Bureau is in the process of cleaning data as they do after all decennial censuses, is because the census happened in April of 2020, conveniently timed during this global pandemic where a number of people who might be seasonal residents during other times of the year actually just dropped ship or dropped anchor on the islands and on the Cape. It's still unclear whether there was some misreporting about where someone's permanent residents were and whether or not the population changes actually captured seasonal residents misreporting. It's something that's still being cleaned and could also explain some discrepancies in population numbers in other parts of the Commonwealth or the country. And it was an interesting presentation. I know it was shared with Andrew. I don't know if he's able to share that with members. It was an email from Bob Fry, but I expect some numbers or data to change because there's a lot of questions that were raised by this particular census, the timing of the global pandemic, and whether these are trends that are going to stick or not. But that said, Nantucket, feather in your cap, biggest population growth in the Commonwealth. Congratulations.
Well, thanks for mentioning that, Derek, because this is something that, you know, if Mike Burns were still here, he has been arguing for quite a while for some, you know, looking at some of the funding. And when we looked at the Donahue Institute, the proposed changes, and I think this is what came out of that presentation, is that there was this, you know, I think Donahue got it right in a lot of communities, but not right at all on the islands especially. And I know that we participated in several conversations about this. Leslie was present for those, saying that our population is not a mirror of Cape Cod. I mean, where Cape Cod might have an older population and actually might have seen more of a decline, that Nantucket was not really consistent with that group. And we did get a lot of pushback, like, oh, well, you know, the model says that's the way it's going to be. And, you know, so anyway, we'll see what comes out. I agree with you. There's some data, some more detailed housing data to come. But it does appear, at least at first blush, that, you know, maybe we ended up with a lot of people who left or swapped out maybe their, you know, their residence in the city for here. It's something anecdotally that I think we've seen a little bit. So
I have family who works in real estate in South Florida who have seen the same thing, and again, anecdotally. But I mean, census data around the country, obviously we're expecting certain trends in certain places. I've been following census data for 15 to 20 years, including publishing the neighborhood level data for City of Boston 10 years ago. And I'm sure that there's validation to some of these increases you've seen on the islands in terms of population numbers, but we're still scratching our heads about what's permanent versus seasonal. You know, did it capture enough? you know, if Martha's Vineyard seeing swings of 100,000 additional people on island, but you know, a net population increase far less than that, but these people aren't going away through the winter months, then, you know, we need to reevaluate.
I have a census question that Derek might be able to help with, if I can go ahead and ask that.
Go ahead, Mary. Yep.
Derek, we have the Donahue presentation in our packet. I don't know if you have that in front of you, but there's a page for regional population projections. And so it looks at NP and EDC, and it has our census 2010, 10,172, and our census 2020, 14,000 and change. Then it has our modeled population for 2020, which is 11%. But the question is, it projects out to 2030 and 2040, and those numbers are lower than our actual reported 2020 census. I wasn't sure if those numbers have yet to be corrected for the new information, or if they're actually going to use those numbers to calculate.
What page are you on?
In our PDF is page 43.
Of the slide deck. I don't have your PDF.
The slide deck doesn't have page numbers.
Oh.
It's the
yeah,
second,
honestly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Honestly, my guess would be that they have not yet changed their 2030 and 2040 projections based on the latest census data. But don't quote me on that. I'll see if I can track down your slide deck, or your agenda, I think from the website, page 47, and I'll follow up with UMass Donahue Institute, because that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to hope that you're right. But I was worried that, you know, funding and everything would be based on numbers that are already lower than what we have today.
My understanding from that presentation is that those all have to be redone. So again, because they're completely off from, you know, what the proposal, what the projected population increase, as you said, is under. So that's got to be fixed.
Great.
Yeah, from what I'd heard from UMass Donahue Institute, they're in the process of continuing to reassess and clean data and have conversations with the U.S. Census Bureau directly through the end of 2021, so through December. You know, one of the things I noted was whether or not the group quarters population, so the college students living in dormitories on campuses, is accurately reflected in some of these municipal populations, just based on, you know, sorry about the cat, based on where college students would normally live in college towns across the Commonwealth, because we were seeing declines in many of those places, which again might have just been one of those artificial changes. And, you know, that has implications for how we project our next decennial numbers for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So I do want to follow up about UMass Donahue Institute on that.
Thank you.
Mary, you good? Everybody else good? We can, I don't want to say bye to the guy in the vineyard without saying thank you, if he's still there.
Yeah, I'm here. No, it's great. Happy to have more conversations and glad
Yeah,
we're starting to
Andrew,
talk.
if there's ever an opportunity to have someone from the vineyard on our meetings, I'm not sure if that's even appropriate to even bring up, but it's like, I don't know, I feel like this is important. It's first time, I don't remember Mark London ever being on. Do you? Was he ever on when I've been on?
No.
You know, my time, I don't remember him being on before. That's
Adam
a
and I
long time ago. I wrote him a letter about the roundabout, how to talk to the public about getting rid of that blinking light. But other than that, I don't remember anything.
I've talked about, you know, opportunities, and obviously, I mean, you know, we fully support this grant application, you know, with the exception, I mean, of this carrying capacity idea, which, you know, I understand, you know, how the vineyard intends to use it. I don't believe in using terms that, you know, can be used, you know, against us. I mean, if you read up on this, I mean, there was a maximum population of the earth that's been, we've gone beyond that. So what happens?
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't want to, there's a lot of, sentiment where, there are people that have legal rights, for property and other things. And, I don't really see where we go with that. Other than, following our 9 elements of our master planning, we look at every one of these particular topics. And again, we're well on our way to looking at coastal erosion and other things. I don't think we need to, throw in these other topics that end up, with endless round and round debates. So, like I said, we've got it. We've got our master plan planned out, heading forward with consultants on board, and I wish them the best. But I think it's going to be quite an endless discussion that, I'd like to focus on, what municipal planners have focused on and what we as a board, have actual control to do. We don't have a lot of control on setting ideal populations and other things. That makes me nervous.
Just real quick, Andrew, on the build out analysis, you brought that up. I think that's going to be the answer to all these terminologies and full and what's full and 100,000, but it really is 55, and trucks are too big. I mean, that's, that's cars are actually smaller now. I mean, remember your parents' station wagon? It's a pretty big vehicle. So huge and very heavy, by the way. But seriously, the build out analysis, Leslie, is going to be, I mean, it's going to reveal an awful lot. It's going to reveal infill, 1-lot subdivisions, the stuff that we see every month at planning, but the general population doesn't understand. Someone actually said to me recently, talking about the stuff I wrote, they said to me, well, we're just going to make the lot smaller. And I said to him, do you know that happens at town meeting? That isn't something that we do unless the zoning allows it. Like, people don't actually even know that in some cases, Andrew, and that is a scary thing that the general public doesn't understand, that if somebody subdivides their lot, it was already allowed to be subdivided. Nobody made that happen other than the original vote of that zoning district that they have, which is 2/3 majority. So it's going to be a revealing thing when we figure that out. Also, Leslie, the building permits, how many houses are new houses on a lot that did not have a house on it or a second dwelling? So that's going to be a good one, because you got to break that out. If you have 600 building permits, but only 120 are new houses that aren't replacing another house, that's important, because that's the way it is. I mean, that's the truth. So we need to reveal all that, so everyone can start fresh in 2021 or 2022 instead of, something else. So, okay. So what else do we have? Does anyone else have anything before we move on to the next topic of the meeting schedule and Zoom and things like that? Okay. Fritz, are you okay? You've moved all over the screen. Now you're down on the bottom right. Are you all right? I'm just checking. Okay. Sometimes you're muted and you could be saying something and I don't know it. So we'll move on to the next topic. The meetings are usually at 6 for commission. Planning board's at 4 now. It used to be 5, and we went to 4 with Zoom. Mary brought up a point about the 5 o'clock meeting. I frankly didn't really think about it too much, although we have not changed planning commission since the pandemic. So I think it's a good opportunity to discuss that with everyone. I don't know what the answer is, but I do think the most relevant thing is, what are we gonna do when we are back at 4FG? Are we gonna, what would everyone like to do versus what we like to do now, as far as Zoom versus live?
But
That
Nat,
would be my,
can I jump in with my points, Nat?
yeah, go ahead, Mary.
So I had 2 points. The first is, especially when we're meeting in person, to start the meeting at 5, I work till 5. So in order to get to the meeting, I have to stop work early, in particular, if I'm driving somewhere to get to a meeting. And that is not my preference. I appreciate the 6 o'clock meeting time to allow transition between work and starting the meeting. But the other point was for the public's sake. And if they're working and our meeting starts at 5 and we have public comment as one of the first topics on the meeting, then we're also asking them to leave work early in order to make a comment at the meeting. And so again, I found 6 o'clock to be a preferable time. I realize there may be other arguments for other times, but I just wanted to make sure we had a discussion about what worked for the commission members.
Does anyone have any thoughts on this discussion? This is not, I don't think we're gonna make a big decision, but I mean, I think we need to definitely talk about it.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Andrew.
I think that when we're meeting in person, I think, I guess I can see more of the importance to, maybe start at a later time. I do want to speak for the staff, that works all day, and that, to extend this, another hour, especially with our current staffing, is something that, we would like you to consider, would do, deference to the commissioners' preferences as well. I mean, we do have a lot of staff here that, has to put time in as well. So I think at least while we are meeting via Zoom, which I think is going to be, or at least till the end of the year, if not longer, we would ask that you consider an earlier meeting time.
Not any earlier than 5, Andrew, right? So
Not earlier than 5, no.
Okay. So does anyone have any thoughts? I mean, I think we've gotten used to Zoom. You don't really have to get ready. You can just run home and but the staff has to decide if they're going home or staying at work to do it. It's a little bit different, I think, for that. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't have an issue with 6 or 5, Zoom or not, because this meeting isn't supposed to last this long unless I keep talking and making everybody upset that we're keeping it go longer. But other than that, I don't know what else to say. I'm fine with 5, Mary. I don't know if 5 is okay until we officially can go back to 4FG. I mean, what does anyone else have to say about it? Fritz? I think
Yeah,
you just-
I was hitting my unmute button.
Yep.
The time for me, either is fine. I'm just simply going to throw out, understanding the issue of staff having to stay, Mary's comment about the public. I mean, does 5:30 help at all? I mean, sort of splitting it down the middle. I don't know. Just offering something that maybe rather than 5 or 6. But again, makes no difference to me.
Megan, is there something with the Zoom appointment stuff that kind of presents a problem too, or, how it works with the login, timing with other meetings?
Sometimes with this particular meeting, I know NCTV stays on to the extent I need to let them know when the meeting time ends. So that's another layer of, I guess, not necessarily staffing time with the town, but they're on call until our meeting's done, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. So we're kind of dragging things a little bit with this, but don't they have to do that when we're live at 4FG as well? I don't know. I'm just asking because I don't know all the particulars of it.
for now.
Yeah.
It's not unique. Every meeting that is in the evening requires staff and support personnel. So I don't want to make a point of it being, unique to our situation. It's the way these work.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, John. Sorry.
Just for my 2 cents, I think, 5 o'clock has been mentioned. If we have Zoom meetings, it's kind of actually convenient. I'm still at work and I can go right from work into the Zoom meeting instead of waiting around a half an hour, an hour. I think it's practical once we have our live meetings at Fort Fairgrounds that 6 o'clock becomes ideal again, because then it gives us a little time to slam a sandwich in before we get there or travel there. So I think the 5 o'clock is working fine for the Zoom, and again, it's just my 2 cents.
Nat.
Dave, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I think we really do need to take staff considerations in when we make this decision, whatever we make. I think that already they are stretched and they do a great job, and if we can accommodate them, that would be to all our benefits. Thanks.
Look, we've never had to deal with this before, so you know what I mean. So I think we all just need to be considerate of different things, and hopefully someday we'll be back to normal, or both, depending on what happens. So so we okay, Mary? You all right with staying with 5 for now for Zoom?
Yeah, I can do that. I really do appreciate the 6 o'clock, especially if we're traveling to Fort Fairgrounds to meet. I just didn't want to, without knowing how it would affect other people, I didn't want the change to be made behind the scenes.
Right. No, I hear you. But it's the other, planning board, we changed to 4 and kind of didn't even thought about it. And quite frankly, that's actually harder, but the meetings are longer. So you get people that go back on the boat, engineers, or I don't know. There's just different things going on. So, but this is different. We should be able to make this work. So, so if anyone has anything else, we'll do we need to like vote for this, Andrew? No, we just say kind of agree as a group and stay with 5 for now until.
Yeah, it doesn't need a motion unless,
yeah,
it needs to, but I think it's general.
I mean, whatever works. And if there's any change and something else happens, just gotta give a heads up, I guess, a couple weeks in advance or something. So we'll move to the committee report stuff. I have a couple of little things I want to add that are not on here. It's just stuff that I actually brought up a minute ago that I wanted to sort of just make a comment about. The school campus. There's going to be a little presentation at the school committee meeting tomorrow night. Anyone wants to watch? I think that meeting is on TV. I haven't been to the LGI room in years. I didn't even know it was still there. So I'm kind of excited about that. And I just wanted to say something about this that has nothing to do with the artificial turf and all that. So Andrew, in his diligence over the years and collaborating with school people and different things with land use, has really shown the change in what they're doing. They have really done a good job with the land use side of this plan for these fields. I mean, they've gone from the baseball field being where the middle school's where the new junior high will go, and that's already been switched because of the Kaiser property acquisition, changed everything. And I'll tell you, they've done a great job. And when this finally makes its way to town meeting, the public needs to know that there's been an incredible amount of work that's gone into using every square inch of land the right way for the future. because there's not gonna be another place to go. This is it. They're just jiggling things around and making it really good. And of course, that Bacchus Lane baseball field plan, Andrew, with the land bank land is, again, massive accomplishment that is already forgotten because it was not yesterday, but this is huge and it's amazing to look at. So I just want people to know how much has gone into this. This isn't something that happened overnight. It's been going on, I believe, for 7 or 8 years. And, you know, just going to these meetings and watching this guy, Dick Webb, give his presentations and the stuff they've done is with the science behind the turf has been vetted, and the people that need to be on board with that are already in discussions with them. So it's been really good. So I just wanted to report that to you guys. So the crack committee, and then we have Affordable Housing Trust, and then Christie's gone on, not with us right now for capital. So is there anything on that, Mary or Fritz, do you want to bring anything up?
I'll just note that the image that was included in the packet for the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee report was a draft image. It's not the final image. The Coastal Resilience Plan has not been released yet. We are expecting it by the end of the month. So I'd simply suggest that we wait for the final plan before having a discussion about the contents.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Mary, for that update.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question about this? You know, I noticed that on at least one of the websites, I mean, they're asking for, aren't you asking for public comment? Or is the expectation that individuals only as opposed to town boards? I mean, I don't want to be in a situation where, you know, things have moved on way too far without, I mean, I don't know why the commission couldn't discuss things in a general way, or is the expectation that it's to be individuals only?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite following. We did create a new web form for the public to submit comments. Those are not comments on the plan itself because the plan itself has not been released, so it's not in any sense like a public hearing. We are certainly able to communicate with any person or board about the Coastal Resilience Plan, but my point is that nobody asked me or Vince to have a presentation or to be prepared to answer questions or schedule anything. This draft piece showed up and we didn't know why. So I don't know why it's in the packet tonight. I'm happy to do what I can, but I don't have anything prepared. And I'm not in a position to provide any information about what's in the Coastal Resilience Plan because I haven't seen it yet. So that was the next step in the process is for Arcadis to deliver it to the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee for their review, and we should be able to comment on it at our next meeting. It will also be delivered to the public at the same time for their comment, and the report will not be accepted at our next meeting. It's just beginning the process of being reviewed, if that helps.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to be clear that there's still an opportunity for comments and input before the selectmen receive the final product. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
And what was Vince's point, Andrew? Same thing Mary just said.
Yeah, and it's
Yes,
just I mean, there's different reporting that says there is the public portal that's available.
Yeah.
And there's various, you know, draft documents that are being, you know, distributed out for review at least at staff level. So again, and you know, there's at least one report that says, you know, the plan is coming to into a close, and you know, I just want to make sure that, you know, that everybody is familiar with what's included in there and, you know, is aware that there's a schedule here. So, because I think some of the issues, I think, you know, needs to be looked at. So I would expect this commentary coming. I anticipate some.
Go ahead, Fritz.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I understood what Andrew specifically was addressing, because obviously there are two reports. There's the Baxter Road report, which was in the packet. And then there's the Coastal Resiliency Plan, obviously both being done by Arcadis as consultants, but different groups of people. And correct me if Mary can step in if I'm saying something inappropriate, but CRAC has had less to do with the development, I think, of the Baxter Road proposal than we have with the Coastal Resiliency Plan. And I would simply, since that was something that was directly negotiated and put forward by really the select board, and CRAC has been stakeholder participant in the discussions regarding Baxter Road, but we haven't been involved as a committee discussing those issues, discussing issues relating to that particular plan or draft, as we are with the full Coastal Resiliency Plan draft that we are really more responsible for, at least in terms of getting it, reviewing it, and then passing it along to the select board. So I just want to make sure, since one was in the packet, one was the other. I didn't know what you were addressing when you said I can tell you want to have an opportunity to address some issues, and I just couldn't tell which one you were talking about, or both.
The issues that I think need some careful review are in the overall plan, not the Baxter Road.
Okay, good. That's helpful to know. Understand.
Andrew, if you're available, excuse me, Chair, for
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mary.
if you're available at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, as far as I'm aware right now, Tuesday of next week, not this week, that is our first opportunity for the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee to look at what Arcadis is offering for the Coastal Resilience Plan. I guess you'd call it a final draft at that point. It's not a final plan. We'd welcome having your participation and input. I think that would be helpful.
Okay. Thank you for that and unwinding all that. And then you got Daybreak and you got these other, they put stuff out too. So I can see where things get kind of confusing. Okay, so the Affordable Housing Trust. Anything on that, Dave or Andrew or whoever knows what's going on? Isn't always.
We got a meeting tomorrow. Nothing that I can really talk about, to be honest with you. Projects are moving forward. So that's really about it at the moment. Next month I'll have more.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Up there, great point, hanging out.
Yep. It's me and the seals and the birds.
So, yeah, Capital Program Committee, Chrissy's on that. She's not here right now. So, anyone else have anything? So thank you for all the conversation tonight. And Derek, appreciate you helping us out here. You want to comment at all, Andrew, on Mike, or do you want to just a little something?
Well, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but we have had at least preliminary discussions. Mike was in town, and we are exploring the possibility of him returning. Anyway, we'll see. The candidate, we did have another candidate who declined the job offer that was that was given to him, and so we'll see. I think it would be great if he could come back. We'll see. If we're successful, it would be probably in the next year, the next calendar season, if we're successful. we have discussions with the union and other things that complicated. It is not an easy thing.
Yep, sure isn't. So anyway, so thank you all. Does anyone else have any additional comments? Jack, thank you for being with us. I always have to say that.
Thank
I'll
you.
never forget you for 1 second. Do you remember Canterbury Lane, Jack? When we saw your name on that signature
remember that
page,
one.
I was like,
Yeah, we had
all
more or less that.
all those empty lots.
Right. Sat there for years, they did. Now all of a sudden they're gone.
Yeah,
take a
that's that was that
Take a red.
owner, Richard Graham. They didn't want to release those lots or whatever happened with that. So thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate your time. Mary, thank you for being there. Okay, so thank you all.
Do you need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn. And forget about
Second.
that. Great. Thank you all. Take care.
Have a good night.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.